But what I wanted to review today is some of the things that I see most often, especially with new narrators. And I want to remind you that um, most of these things that we discussed today are normal, fixable, natural, right? It's part of the learning process. It doesn't mean that you should just, hang up the microphone and never do this again. It just means that you have a little bit more to learn, as we all do. And these are all mistakes, things that we overlook. These are things that we don't know, because we don't come into this business knowing everything. We kind of learn most of this stuff as we go along. And I can guarantee you that the majority of those that book regularly have done a lot of this as well. So let's start you out on the right foot with your audiobook auditions. All right, so I think one of the most common things that I hear is a flat delivery, right? A weak versus a strong audition. You sound like you're reading words. You're reading a book instead of performing an experience. If you yourself have listened to audiobooks, then you know that you don't have the book in front of you. You're not following along with the narrator. You don't know what's coming next. You're relying on the narrator to paint this picture of this world that you're diving into and the characters and whatever's going on in the scene, right? It's an experience. It's not just reading words. There's no connection to the copy, right? You're just detached and reading the words. That is typically something I see a lot, along with artificial inflection, which is along the same lines. You're disconnected from the copy, meaning you're not allowing yourself to fully understand the W's or to utilize the W's, as we talk about all the time here on my channel, which is, who are you as the narrator? Who are you talking to, and why are you talking to them? And in this case, you, the narrator, are either a first-person character, you are the narrator telling a story from the third party, you know what I mean. Or it's a nonfiction book where most often than not, you are the voice of the author, right? If it's an autobiography or a biography, I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but you get my meaning. So you have to sound connected to the script. If you're not, and you're just reading the words and then inserting artificial inflection every once in a while because you think that makes it engaging, that's going to come off sounding disingenuous. It's not going to sound like you're actually connected. It just sounds like you're throwing in random inflection, right? And I did it too. I know a lot of us do, because it's the disassociation from what we perceive to be a voice actor in the beginning that we need to become a whole different persona. We need to be the voice actor instead of just being ourselves telling the story. Putting ourselves in that situation. How would I react in that situation? Do I have a full understanding of what is happening in this situation or whatever the scene is that you're building, right? If you can take the time to fully break down the script and ask yourself those basic W's and have a firm understanding of what is happening, you'll be able to tell a much better story than just reading the words that are on the page. Another thing is audio quality. I mean, let's be real. In the beginning, we don't know anything about anything, right? We're just learning what a DAW is. What does it stand for? How do I record? How do I delete? How do I export it as an MP3? I don't know any of this stuff. And that's, again, perfectly normal and perfectly fine. You're learning as you go. So 9 times out of 10, our audio quality isn't the best. I can tell you mine wasn't. Mine sure as heck wasn't. But I'm also proof that my bad audio quality didn't keep me from winning books. Apparently, my performance was good enough and my audio quality was secondary, or maybe just no one else auditioned. I have no idea. I don't know. But if you have echo in your room, if you have a dead sounding room, maybe you put too much, sound dampening material around you. If you are, various levels from your microphone as you're recording, like your chair is moving further away, and then another session, you're closer to the mic. There could be a whole lot of things that you just don't know yet about having consistently decent audio quality. Again, things we learn as we go. What I always tell new narrators as far as mic placement and audio quality is, once you find a place that is ideal to record in, ideally a place that you can dedicate to audiobook production, meaning it's not going to change once you have it set up. Now, there's going to be some, other circumstances where maybe you do have to take down your recording space every night, which is understandable. But ideally, you'd like to have a space that no one else is going to touch, that it's not going to change, to help with the consistency of the sound from recording to recording. Once you find that space, make sure that you are comfortable. You. Don't worry about everything else around you at the moment, like the microphone, the computer. Make sure that you are comfortable. And move everything to you, if you can. Make sure that everything on your desk is reachable from where you're sitting, and then move the microphone to the standard, 4 to 6 inches away from your mouth. Preferably off axis, so you're not, plosiving into the microphone, because those puffs of air as you speak will go into the microphone, but they'll go past it if your microphone is just off axis. Your computer screen, your interface, everything is, in a comfortable range around you. But you being comfortable is first and foremost, especially with audiobooks, because they are, say it with me, a marathon. They are definitely not a sprint. So you want to make sure that you are comfortable, and then move everything to you. That's the best way to go about it, I think. And then, of course, there's going to be a lot of other variables depending on your particular space, your particular equipment. And we have tons of videos here on my channel where Caesar comes in and he talks about, great gear and sound treatment and things. But we're just going over the basics today. So audio quality. Another mistake that I see a lot is not matching the specific tone of the script. You're not giving the right tone. For example, if the audition copy that you're given, let's just say it's a fiction book. The section that you're given for the audition is perhaps a tense, dramatic scene. There's a lot of tension in the air. Right? Maybe you're being hunted or something, right? Just to kind of paint a picture in your head. And a lot of times authors will give you specific scenes like this because they want to see how you handle them. So this is where the W's are very important, and to make sure that you take the time to read through the copy, understand what is happening based, of course, on what you're given, because sometimes you're not given the whole book, you're just given that one scene. So using that one scene, do your best to understand what is happening, who you are as the narrator, who you're talking to, and why are you talking to them, right? Maybe it's a tense scene, and again, you're being hunted, so you need to kind of, there's a little bit of urgency in your voice, but you're talking quietly because something's hunting you, right? If you understand what is happening, you can better deliver what the author is looking for. So matching the tone, the appropriate tone to the appropriate scene that you're narrating is really going to be beneficial in getting you jobs also. Or maybe it's you're looking at a romance. Maybe it's a romantic scene where the two lovers reunite, right? How would you react in a situation like that? Assuming assuming it was a good love reunion situation, right? I mean, use your own experiences and emotions for these things and allow yourself to express those emotions. Now, if it's nonfiction, again, you are the authority, right? You are the voice of the author. Most of the time, nonfiction is like a self-help book, something like this. So you are the person who is extending their hand out to help the listener with whatever the topic of the book is. So you want to sound authoritative, relatable, trustworthy, right? So to do that, you have to also utilize the W's and fully understand why you're helping these people, right? Obviously, you as the narrator, you are the author. You're talking to an audience who is seeking your help with whatever it is that you wrote the book about, right? So on and so forth. I feel the tangent coming. I feel the tangent coming, so I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see, looking at my notes here. Character voices. We get hung up on character voices quite a bit. And I think most of the time when we attempt character voices, we're going for more of a caricature rather than an actual person, like a real life person. And again, depending on what kind of book it is, if it's a children's book, I say go for it. I say have fun with those character voices. It's a children's book. Why not? It's probably what the author's looking for. But if you're talking about like your everyday fiction, these are everyday people more often than not. If it's sci-fi, that's something different because it could be aliens and things, right? Well, you could probably have fun with those too. But if we're talking about just two everyday people having a conversation, the character voices don't have to be extreme. They can be very subtle, right? But again, what's most important is understanding what is happening in the scene, and then those characters, through you, are reacting accordingly, right? Character voices are more about the personality and the attitude of the character in that scene rather than, extreme caricature versions of most often the male and the female voice, right? Because we want our female voices to be way up here and our male voices to be... And we're more focused on pitch than we are about the personality and what is happening in the scene. A slight variation, subtlety is best. I always recommend a good study on exactly what I'm saying is listening to Jurassic Park, narrated by the legendary Scott Brick. I recommend that to everybody because his character voices, the shifts in the character voices are so subtle, but you can keep up just fine. Other mistakes that I see are submission requests or technical instructions or the naming conventions of the files, things like that. Sending in the wrong file format. Maybe you send in the audition as a wave or it's on the tip of my tongue. What is the Audacity specific file format that you can't open unless it's through Audacity? I forget what that is, but I think some of you probably know what I'm talking about. If it's not an MP3, especially if we're talking about audiobooks, it's probably the wrong format. MP3 is what you want to send in. File names, I always recommend to have your name first in the file name. So for me, my audition file name would be Angela Oldfast, and then underscore the name of the book title that I'm auditioning for. And then even further yet, I can do underscore ACX or underscore, the name of the platform that I'm auditioning on. So it makes it a little bit easier for me to find a file or to organize a file, and also for the client to find me. Because perhaps the author has solicited auditions on more than one platform. Maybe they've asked for auditions on their book on ACX, and then maybe Authors Republic, or maybe they've put a shout out on social media saying, hey, I'm looking for a narrator, wherever it is. But if ACX is in the file name, that might help them find you, right? And also, if your full name or whatever name you go by as a narrator is in the file name, then that can help them find you too by perhaps Googling your name and coming across your website, right? So, as I always tell people, make it as easy as possible for clients to find and hire you. Make it like overkill easy. Put your name on the file, platform that you're auditioning on. So instead of just calling it, recording number 1 or something like that, put your name in it. Missing instructions. If the author has given you specific instructions, which doesn't happen a lot, but every once in a while you'll get an author who is asking for specific accent for a character or a specific feeling, emotion even. I'm trying to think of what else I've seen, but I think that's mainly what it is. That they'll give you a few different scenes with a few different emotion in terms of tension. Maybe there's, and then they'll say, okay, for this section, I want this character to do this or whatever. And they want to see how you handle it essentially. But if you didn't read the instructions that were included with the audition, then you wouldn't have known that, and you're automatically not a contender anymore, right? It's the same thing with uploading a file that, in some of the platforms you can't even get away with uploading the wrong kind of file format, but if someone were to reach out to you directly, and I'm just trying to think of all situations here, if someone were to reach out to you directly for an audition and you sent them that Audacity file that you can only open in Audacity, and then the client can't listen to it, then they're probably, they may or may not say, hey, I can't open this file. They might just move on to someone else. You know what I mean? So reading instructions. Slating is another question I get a lot. I think these days, I wouldn't slate unless a client has specifically asked you to slate. Another good reason to read the instructions, requirements, requests, whatever the author has submitted with the audition. I would not slate. I think ultimately the purpose of an audition is to hear the author's words in your voice. So give them that. Don't make them wait. They know what book it is. They know all of this stuff. They know everything you're saying in the slate. So just get to the audition. Also in files, I see a lot of new narrators leaving like big spans of space at the beginning of their audition. Maybe they didn't edit it. Maybe they were a one-take wonder and they took that audition in one take and didn't edit it, and there's 5 seconds of silence at the beginning. We have to remember that the person listening to your audition, whether it be the author themselves or their assistant, or if it's a publisher, there's a very good chance that they're not going to keep listening and wait to hear what they're looking for. It's a good chance they have hundreds of auditions to get through. They may not wait the 5 seconds of silence to hear your audition, right? So keep the room tone or the silence at the beginning to like a half a second at most. At most. Get to it right away. I'm trying to think, was there anything else? If you have questions, please ask in the chat. As I'm looking at my notes here, I think I touched on most of this. Consistency in audio quality and performance. Do you understand what you're saying, right? Do you sound connected to the copy? Do you understand the material? Also, are you easy to work with? Just like for us as freelance narrators or business owners, we don't really want to work with people who are difficult or maybe needy, maybe micromanaging. If we wanted that, we'd go back to corporate, right? So I mean, our clients see us the same way, right? You want to have your customer service hat on. You want to be pleasant. You want to be flexible. You want to be um, polite, right? I see some questions about slating. Slating is basically at the beginning of the audition, you say, Angela Olfest auditioning for whatever the book title is. I mean, in my head, I'm like, obviously, I'm auditioning for this. So, in lieu of slating at the beginning, just put your full name, the title of the book, and even the platform that you found the audition on in the actual name of the file. So all that information is there. Maybe it's the car guy coming out in me. As some of you know, I spent 20 years in automotive and I've learned quite a bit from the sales force, right? Make it as easy as possible for them to hire you. And also, it's like the feel of the wheel seals the deal, right? Ultimately, they want to hear their words and your voice. They don't need the slating stuff. They just want you to get right to it so that way you can hook them in and they continue listening. To me, I would say, okay, if I have like 50 auditions to listen through to find a right voice, I don't want to sit through like 50 slates. I know what book this is. I just want to see if you are the voice I'm looking for or not. And that's hard to tell when you're just saying, this is Angela Olfest, I'm auditioning. That's not like an accurate representation of what I'm going to give you once I actually get to the audition. I hope that makes sense. Maybe it's my brain. Maybe I'm just too neurotic about things and overthink everything, but that's just the way that I approach it. Hang on, I just had like a, okay. What else? I would say, just going through my notes here, I think ultimately, if you've submitted a lot of auditions, and a lot could be really any number for you, if you think that you've auditioned quite a bit and you're not getting any kind of traction with authors, join groups, get peer feedback, hire an audio engineer. That's when you need to just stop, take a pause, and get some real feedback on what it is that you're doing or not doing. And as always, Launchpad is a great place to do that, where we have a Discord that you can submit things for feedback from other members. We talk about auditions quite a bit in our weekly meetings. It's a great place for camaraderie, support, and building your business, and we do it together. So the information's in the description if you're interested. But that's one of the best ways to go about it, is just to get feedback from other people, because there could be something in your audio, and it's usually something with audio quality that you're just accustomed to hearing. You're just used to the sound of the echo coming from the wall behind you, and you don't really hear it. You're kind of deaf to it because you're used to it. But that echo could be the thing that is really keeping you from booking a job. Or maybe you sound like you're reading the words instead of telling the story, but you don't realize that you're doing it until someone else tells you. So getting feedback from other narrators is paramount in stopping bad habits from starting, right? Okay, let's get over to the comments. Just looking at Instagram really quickly, Mary Lake says, "Do you introduce yourself in the audition file before jumping in?" I don't, and that would be what slating is basically, and I don't do that. I just get right to the audition, because ultimately it's what they want to hear. They just want to hear the audition.